Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Aaron Armstrong, and with me today is Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. We were just talking before we came on about how things tend to usually occur in the house, important things, right before we go on for the roundtable. Usually fights, usually meetings, usually I'm like almost positive that big blow up last season, big house meeting blow up, bloody mess happened right before our live feed or LFC roundtable. So, that's kind of the pattern.
Yes.
Love it.
And also with us tonight, filling in for Brent, who unfortunately could not make it here tonight, is Matt Ligori. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. Very excited to be here. I'm glad Brent could not make it, so I could have a chance to hop on one of these things. Although you guys know he left me with his everything for the stock watch, so I have the ability to either completely tank his game this season or just go with what he sent me. So we'll see what I decide.
All right, we'll find out. We are, of course, here live, as we will be every week during Big Brother Celebrity 2, to argue about what's been happening on the live feeds. And we are here on YouTube. You can join us in the chat. The chat is here. Brent is okay. Don't worry. He's fine. He's really embarrassed about how wrong he's been about a lot of things, including Joey. And so he just didn't want to show his face tonight. And, things happen, unfortunately. So,
yes, he'll be okay.
Yeah. So let's get to the roundtable here. We have to start by recapping the week. And in order to recap the week, we need to tell you about everything that's happened since the last roundtable, which has actually included 2 evictions. So since the last roundtable,
such a weird schedule.
Jonathan was evicted, guys. Remember that?
Wow, that was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
It really does. Wow, okay.
Evicted in a 6-1 vote. Cato ended up winning the next HOH. In the process of winning that HOH, however, Dina upset him because Dina was rooting for Joey instead of Cato. Not good. No good. Tom tried to pitch a move. Let's move against Ricky. Let's do this. Let's do a Ricky thing. And Cato was like, no. Not having it. Don't like that. Dina made me mad, and Tamar and Shrimp just together don't work very well. So I'm going to do Dina and Tamar. Those were the nominations. Tamar was mad. The plan was to backdoor Ryan, of course. Tom won the veto, did not use it, and Ryan Lochte was, in fact, backdoored, evicted, also 6-1.
Unfortunately.
Sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been really sad to lose these guys right off the top of the season. We always say that we want an older cast, and we finally got an older cast, and now like 2 of the youngest guys on the cast have been evicted, and now it's like a really older cast. So we're seeing what's happening when it's just a group of like 40 and 50-year-olds are playing Big Brother, and it's been a lot better, at least this week, than I expected. Once Ryan was gone, I personally was like, wow, I'm really gonna be losing interest. I don't know, but the season, this week has not disappointed.
All right. Well, Tom is gonna end up winning the next HOH. He wants to backdoor Ricky. Tom wants to make the move. He's been wanting to make the move all along. He's been wanting to do this, and Cato is finally on board. This is what's happening. He says, okay, we're doing it. I'm fine. Well, let's go. Meanwhile, the secret power is announced. There's a secret power in the house. Somebody has it. They're not sure who. And this causes some chaos. We're not sure if we can do the Ricky backdoor anymore. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Maybe we can do the Ricky backdoor, but what if he has the power? But what if Tamar has the power? I think that Candy has the power. No, I think that Joey has the power. All right, so they end up nominating Joey and Candy. Tamar is mad. She's not happy.
Is she ever not? I feel like that should just be like after every sentence. Like, Tamar is mad.
I have it written
Tamar
in
is
here
upset.
at least 3 times.
Yeah. Over like sometimes nothing, sometimes important things, but sometimes just like, what? Why is she mad?
Yes. So basically, Cato was convinced that Candy had the power. Tom thought maybe Joey had the power. They are still thinking we can potentially backdoor Ricky, but we're not sure, especially now with the power in play. And so Candy and Joey end up going on the block. Tom is then going to get all murder mystery on everyone. He is really into this, like, hey, let's have some fun. Well, it'll be like a murder mystery night. And every time he tries to describe it to people, they go, oh, you mean like Clue? He's like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess so. He really wanted the murder mystery part. So he goes all murder mystery, and guess what happened there? Tamar got mad.
Wow.
He tried to figure out if Tamar had the power, which she does, as we all know. And she was immediately like, whoa, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to threaten me that if I have the power, you're going to put me on the block and force me to use the power? Is that what's happening right now? Are you trying to threaten me, Tom? And he said, no, I did a whole reenactment of not only the argument, but then the retells immediately afterward in the live feed updates. If you are curious to see that, it was pretty funny. I really hope that they show it on the episodes, but I'm not super confident in them at this point. Anyway, Tamar got mad. That's all you really need to know. So Tom is now going to so he has Joey and Candy on the block. Joey comes to Tom. He comes to Cato. He gets them feeling good about him. They feel pretty confident that Joey does not have the power. And they also feel confident that Joey is potentially willing to work with them moving forward and that they could have his vote. So they're starting to think now, okay, let's take down Joey and potentially backdoor Ricky, maybe backdoor Tamar, see if she has the power. We'll see. But basically, we want Joey off the block. And this is really the start, I guess not the start, but like the start of Joey actually being weirdly effective in the house, Melissa.
Very weirdly. It was very unexpected. I thought that he wasn't going to even try. Like, I honestly thought he was just going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to go. And, he's actually impressed me with his ability to, or his even more, not really his ability, but more his like desire to even stay in the house. Because I didn't really see him actually having any desire to stay in the house. I mean, even when he's going through that slaughterhouse, haunted house, it was like, he just was like not wanting to be there at all. And so it's been pretty good to see Joey's progression, at least right now.
It has been interesting. Matt, what have you thought of Joey this week?
Yeah, you would have thought that after Jonathan and Ryan go out of the house back to back, his only two friends in the house, that he would have been really down and out. But he really has kind of pulled it together this week. He's found a way to play the game, and that's been the driving force of what's making Lolo so frustrated, or one of the many driving forces making her frustrated, because Joey said early on, I'm not looking for an alliance. I don't want to play this game. I don't want to be underhanded and do anything like that. And then all of a sudden now he's like interested in talking to these people and playing the game with these people. And, someone comes up to Lolo and they're like, oh yeah, Joey said he's willing to work with us. And she's like, I tried on day one in the first 5 minutes of being in the house to make an alliance with Joey, and he said no. And now he wants to work with people. Like, it's been 14 days. Calm down. But that's Lolo for you. But yeah, Joey's been doing a lot better than most of us expected.
Yes. Lolo does get very worked up over literally nothing. Like yeah. Every conversation is like so heated. It goes from 0 to 100 like so fast.
Yeah, we talk about Tamar being the one who gets mad about everything and so heated, but I would argue it might be Lolo that is a little more tense and you know.
Plus, she's more serious when she gets angry. I feel like Tamar, like, you could always be like, oh, is she messing with me? Like, is she joking around? Is she doing this for show? But Lolo, it's like aggressive mad, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah. You feel it's like genuine emotion.
I would be very scared by Lolo if Lolo.
Oh my God, yeah.
Lolo was mad at me, and I was in a small room with her. I would be terrified.
And you never know when it's coming. Not at all. Like they'll be in the middle of a conversation, like a small talk, like just getting on the same page. Like this is happening like 20 minutes before we got on here. They're having their group meeting, and just somebody says the wrong thing to her, and she just snapped, Tom, don't do this to me, Tom. Don't do this. Don't start now.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Like the other day, she like got so worked up that there were people playing pool outside the HOH room when Tom was trying to talk to her, and she's like, "Okay, we'll just give up the alliance. Let's just give it up." Like after over nothing, it was like, whoa, what's going on here? It's intense.
It is. All right. So Tom and Cato now feel good about Ricky. They want to take him off the block. They're hoping they eventually decide, okay, screw the power. We're still going to go through with our Ricky backdoor plan. But first, we need to pitch it to Lolo and Natalie. We need to get them on board with, basically, we want to backdoor Ricky because we think that he's secretly working with Natalie and Lolo, and that when it comes down to the final 5, or potentially even earlier, Ricky is going to be able to take a shot at us and team up with the women. So, in order for us to take a shot at Ricky for that reason, we're going to pitch to the women why we think we should take Ricky out, because he's going to team up with them against us, and they're going to accept that reasoning, and we're all going to move forward like a happy family.
No. No.
No, I mean, Ricky is close with the girls. Tom correctly identifies that, but that's why this is such a mistake for him, because, he just thinks that it's going to be so easy for him to say, well, this guy's a threat because of X, Y, and Z. But one of those reasons is because he's close with people that you're telling, like Tom's going to the girls and saying, Ricky needs to get out of here. I know that you guys like him or whatever, but we need to do something about it. And the girls are like, what do you... No, like, that's not what we want to do at all. And it's so, like, firmly planted in Tom's brain that this is what he wants to do. So it's just really uncomfortable to watch, as he spirals out of control here.
Yes. And again, I'll mention again that in recapping this, we are skipping over a lot of detail because a lot of the detail never goes anywhere. Tom and Cato talk in circles endlessly. They come up with a million plans, and I still could not tell you, not even close to tell you, what their eventual final plan is going to be this week. So yes. So we're going to do our best explaining what's happening with them. But in the meantime, they pitch this Ricky plan to Nolo, and Nolo goes, no, this is no good. They go and they tell Ricky. You should have seen how much fun I had writing this recap. It's full of nonsense.
Goes, no.
And every 3 lines is Tamar is mad.
Cannot wait to listen to first one out.
Oh God.
So they go and they tell Ricky. Ricky's like, oh, is this going? What's going on? And then all of a sudden, Joey comes out of nowhere. He gets the Joey signal. He pitches. The house flips. Hey, work with me. Let's take out Tomato and we'll go with Joey Batman. It'll be great. Batmans are way better than Tomatoes is. And so he's like, yes, let's do this. And Nolo's like, yes, we like this. And Tamar is like, yes, I like this as well. Let's work together. And Ricky is like, I'm not sure if I like this. And then Joey talks to him and he's like, oh, you're right. I do like this, Batman. And the Justice League assembles.
Remember when we thought that Tom and Cato were like in great positions and that Tom was, the mastermind strategist behind the two of them, and it was all going swimmingly? Like literally last roundtable essentially is when we talked about this, and now everything's different. Joey came in.
Yes. So what you're saying is you gave them like 8s and 9s for this week in the stock watch?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
10 out of 10 for Tom this week, really.
Yes, this speaks to what we were talking about this morning on the update about how this is Joey's good work that he's put in. He managed to take 2 people in Lolo and Ricky that weren't feeling great about him and completely turn things around. And now there could be a whole new group forming in the house.
Yes,
it's pretty impressive. And if I end this season absolutely in love with Joey Lawrence, so be it.
Will he be like the number 1 Lawrence brother after?
He might be. You know what? He just crazy. Might be the number 1 Lawrence brother. Even though I still feel like when I watch the episode that like he does not want to be there at all. Like even when he's in the DR, he's just like, get me out of this room. When he's doing the competitions, he's like, get me out of this competition. Like all of it. It just
What's with
feels
the glasses?
I don't know, but it's very strange.
Like I just always noted, like he's got the reflection from the lights, in the VR, and
for sure.
But he doesn't wear them in the house ever.
Yeah, I
So
don't know.
he has to. What does he have to see in the diary room that he needs glasses
They
for?
do have some
It's
bright
just-
lights in the diary room shining
But they're
in your
not
face.
sunglasses. They're just regular glasses, unless there's like a really small.
They're like very early 2000s glasses. It seems
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah.
that's true.
And he gets a lot of diary rooms. He's like a real, Lochtey's gone, so I guess maybe they're dumping all the load on him now.
Well,
He
I mean,
reminds. Well, I was gonna say like he reminds me of like Moby from
Yeah.
like the 90s with those glasses and like the beanie. Like is that accurate? I feel like I don't know. I feel maybe I'm just imagining it, but that's what it feels like to me.
it's pretty fair, I think.
Sure.
Last season, we had Marissa as our celebrity Big Brother winner, and she did it almost like she was trying to lose, and by giving it to somebody else, and she ended up accidentally winning. I think it would be very appropriate if Joey was our second reluctant winner. He didn't even want to be there, but since he was there, fine, I'll play the stupid game. And then, oh, look, I won. There you go.
That would be very fitting. Maybe this is all just an act. Maybe it's like he saw that Marissa tried to give it to Ross and he was just like, okay, well, I guess that's how I'm going to play it. I'm going to pretend like I don't care.
He's a secret super fan. Dr. Will is his mentor, and he's trying to replicate the Dr. Will I don't want to be here strategy.
Oh my God, I think we just cracked the case.
I think we need the fan fiction sound drop.
We know what's happening with Joey.
Either way, I want vindication. I feel like Ricky and Joey at this point are two of the best players in the house.
Is Ricky
That's
on
all
your
I'm
team as
saying.
well?
Yeah.
All right, so
These were, you know what? I think maybe they're just doing really well because you drafted them. So like they got like the bat signal essentially of Taryn's signal being like, oh, we're good now.
yeah. I mean, Joey's put in work, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. He could still go home this week.
Yeah,
That's
look,
true.
he could, but I still feel vindicated because he has far exceeded, I think, all of the crazy Joey detractors.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously put in some good work, but I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can keep it up or if he just backs down because I think the adrenaline of having an enemy in the house, like a common enemy between like a bunch of people, has really fueled him. But suppose he stays in the house and then they get one of them out next week. Is he still like, all right, I'm really trying to go forward and win the game, or is he just going to be like, if I win the competition, I win. If not, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah.
Well, so this new alliance is formed. It's 5 people. It's Ricky, Joey, Natalie, Lolo, and Tamar. Then they play the veto. Natalie wins the veto. She is not going to use the veto. She does not want to risk anybody going up, which obviously indicates I'm fine with Joey being risked, but Joey's cool with that. Joey doesn't mind. He's just here for the fun and hanging out, and he's just here to help you guys.
The plan last night was that Joey was going to win the veto and not use it on himself. He was like fully intending that if he won it, he was going to keep himself on the block to avoid Ricky having to go up.
And why does this always happen? Or I feel like it always is the case where it's like, oh my God, if Joey wins the veto, he's not going to use it. And I feel like that happened on Big Brother 22 at some point, where if one person had won it, there was a chance that they would do something really dumb with it.
Maybe?
It must have been Fessy.
Yeah.
And so, but then they don't win it, and it's like, no,
we don't
just
get to see
lost
that.
something.
Yeah.
I think he probably would have. I find it very difficult to believe that he actually would have gone home if he had won and not used it. But still, that would have been interesting to see somebody not use the veto and then not go home. That could change the entire like lexicon of Big Brother veto use. So yeah, didn't happen though. Natalie won it.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're always like, you get the veto, you have to use it. Look at Marcellus and everything. And now it's like, oh, well, you might stay. It's a possible strategic move, but can't put that into practice yet.
There's a lot of merit in somebody who is like not dying to be there. He's obviously showing interest in playing the game, but this isn't like as important to him as it is to the other house guests. So there's a lot less on the line if he happened to go home from making a bold play like that. So
yeah.
Would have been fun.
Caring too much is showing that you care too much is definitely a bad thing. That's one of the reasons why Dr. Will was so effective in season 7. Obviously, jokes aside, the comparisons end there. So as it stands right now,
I feel like also the difference with obviously there's a lot of differences with Dr. Will, but the difference between Dr. Will's not caring and like And the one difference between Dr. Will and Joey,
they're basically the same person.
Really, I mean, let's be honest. But the difference between that version of not caring and the version of not caring that Joey's giving is, I feel like in the DR, Dr. Will showed that he cared, whereas Joey in the DR is showing even more so that he doesn't care. Like, if anything, I think the DR is making me think he really doesn't want to be there. So I feel like that's also a difference. It's like, if Joey in the house is strategically saying, like, I don't care, put me on the block, whatever you guys want to do, but then in the DR being like, okay, this is why I'm saying that, and this is like my strategy to move forward and blah blah blah, then I'd be like, okay, I get it, strategy, it's all strategy. But right now I feel like it's like he legitimately just doesn't care. So
yeah.
no.
That's why nobody's been able to replicate Dr. Will's strategy, is because you either have to genuinely not care, which means you're not playing enough to probably win in the end, or you're not able to do it. You can't pretend to not care. It just doesn't work.
Well, that's why we have Joey here. That's what Joey's going for.
Yeah. So
he knows what he's doing.
As things currently stand, what it looks like, a tentative vote count here, because the veto ceremony just very recently happened. Natalie did not use the veto. Joey and Candy have remained on the block. On Saturday, they will vote between the two of them. The votes currently stand at Natalie, Lolo, Ricky, and Tamar to evict Candy, and Cato and Dina would be maybe evicting Joey. I don't expect that count to stay the same, though. I would honestly expect that all of the votes are going to get behind one or of these players. I think it's going to be unanimous. I think that eventually Tom and Cato and Dina will know where the other 4 votes are going, and they will go along with those, or they will, something will happen and they'll want Joey out instead, and everyone will vote Joey out. Or if things stay the same right now, I think it will probably be unanimous. Candy will be evicted 6-1. That's my guess, but as it currently stands, it's kind of 4-2.
Yeah, like we talked about this morning, there's a lot of reasons that it could flip back and forth. I feel like Joey is such a big jury threat, especially just given these 2 people that are already evicted from the house being his 2 close friends. So I don't know if that's even a factor to them. I don't know if they're just trying to make sure that they have an army ready to go to face Tom and Cato next week. But I really think it could end up either way. I do agree, though, that it's probably going to be all the votes on one person.
Yes. So let's talk about the state of the house here, because we had a lot of shifting going on. And I also want to bring up if you are interested in filling out the form for tonight's roundtable where you rate the players, it will help populate the numbers for the stock watch and answer all the questions that we'll be discussing toward the end of this podcast. You still have time before we get there. It's on my Twitter. You can go there and fill it out if you want to. I promise it's very easy. So you can find it there. Armstrong Taryn is the Twitter. You can find it. So let's talk about the state of the house here. We have hashtag Team Fun. It's blown up. Tom, Cato, Natalie, Lolo, Ricky. They were fun together. No, they weren't. But they were fun when they exploded. The alliance is dead. Tom has killed them. It's no more. Do we have any parting words for hashtag Team Fun?
Not so fun. I just feel like they were very dysfunctional, which isn't fun. They're not functional. Okay, whatever. All I know is that I didn't really like them together, because I just felt like it was kind of a toxic alliance. I felt like, even though they were all very strong, I just felt like it came down to really Lolo asserting her will over everyone. I don't know. I just feel like she wouldn't listen to what anyone else wanted to say or strategize, except for like Ricky with some like guru or something that was just like sitting off to the side, and she would come to him and in like the weight room or whatever, and he would tell her like, yes, that's the idea you should be following or whatever. It was like some weird thing where I just felt like Tom and Cato weren't being heard at all, but they thought they were being heard, and I just felt like they were being tricked the whole time, and I didn't like it very much. So you know what? I'm fine with that alliance breaking up.
I think the very interesting part of this is the fact that we know it's broken up, and they know it's broken up, but they're still pretending like it's not. So, as we just saw a couple, like I said before this podcast, they just had a meeting, and they're pretending like they're still together, all in snails, Miguel's, and pounding fists to the end. Like they're still under, for the cameras, they're trying, or at least maybe this is Tom, because, Tom likes to choreograph everything. He's still trying to make it seem like they're together.
Well, basically, how Tom described his relationship with Ricky to Lolo is that we both know we're lying to each other, which has now become what's happened with all of Team Fun, where they just, before this podcast started, had a meeting of all of them together, where everybody in the meeting knew that they were no longer together, but they were both pretending that they were. And after the meeting ended, both sides were like, oh man, did you see them lying to us? Oh, crazy how they just lied to us like that, right? It's pretty funny, and I really want it to last.
Tom's literally like, should I just go outside and tell everybody that this alliance is dead because I don't know what we're doing pretending? He said this before the meeting, and he just said it again right after. He's like, this is stupid. Why are we pretending? Like, maybe it'll actually help us if we show that we're separated. But in the meantime, they're just smiling and just like being so passive aggressive with each other at certain points. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's getting nasty in here. I'm seeing as we speak. Natalie, I can't handle that dude, Tom. He's crazy. They are so bothered and mad that their little master plan did not work, says Natalie.
Well, Tom's heated. Yeah, Tom's really heated right now. I mean, he literally said to Cato before everybody came into the room, we're not going to accuse them of anything. We're just going to let them talk and agree. And then Natalie, who had just been talking to Ricky, came in the room and she's like, I heard you guys were saying that I was not around all day, but I was. And he immediately goes, well, yeah, I couldn't find you. And he starts accusing her of things. And he just completely contradicts everything that he's saying within seconds. And it frustrates the crap out of the girl.
This is like an immature, like high school relationship where both sides today were like, well, they haven't talked to me, so I'm just gonna stay right here and wait for them to come and talk to me. And then they finally got together and they were like, so why didn't you come and talk to me? And then the other one's like, why didn't you come and talk to me? And they're like, what? You didn't come and talk to me? And then they're in a stalemate of immaturity. It's crazy to watch.
Yeah, I just feel like that is never a good scenario. If that ever, especially in the house too, I feel like it's like the worst thing you can do is just not talk to someone. I just think that a lot of misunderstandings happen, and even in real life too. It's like you just like, it's better to just go up there and talk to them and not be too proud, especially in the house, to go talk to someone, because you do see that a lot of the time, when you're not communicating with someone, that's when all the rumors start about you, and that's when all the strategizing goes on behind your back, and that's when you get kicked out of whatever alliance you were in. I mean, we've seen this happen so many times where the person just decides they're not going to talk and thinking, okay, well, that'll be fine for me, and it's not fine for you at all. You definitely need to talk to the person.
Yeah, and I tweeted about this earlier because Tom, I don't understand why Tom spent the entire morning, like he was laying on the floor in the HOH room telling the cameras, I'm just going to wait here until someone comes to find me. There's no reason for the girls to have to come find you. You were the one who had this crazy plan to backdoor their close ally. You admitted that you think that they're close. And you're correct about that. I know he doesn't want to be correct about it, but he is. And he's waiting, he had this plan, and if he wants to see it get pushed forward, he should be the one that's going to them saying, so you going to use the veto and help me get my backdoor done or not? But he's just waiting for Natalie to come to him, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. And like Taryn said, it's just so high school, and so like he's not getting anything done by acting this way. I don't understand what he's going for at all.
Yes.
Yeah, he already knew that they were not interested in this plan, like that they weren't super on board with this plan. And so instead he's like, well, hopefully they're just going to do it. Even though last time we talked, it didn't seem like they were going to do it.
Well, and he had accepted that it wasn't going to happen and that he wasn't going to do it. He was not like expecting it to go through.
He's always kept hope.
However,
but you Natalie and talk to them.
Yeah, well, Natalie and Lolo also went through with their plan of, hey, well, let's blindside Tom by not using the veto and not telling him ahead of time. Just for the fun of it. So that happened, and Tom was like, well, why didn't you say anything? Like, why didn't you let me know what you were gonna do? And so it's again, the pettiness on both sides is at monstrous levels here, especially for a Big Brother celebrity season. And really, especially Natalie, who has this veto. It's like, what are you doing? You're so clean right now. Like, why are you intentionally antagonizing people? Why are you trash talking them more than you need to be? Just chill a little bit. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Or just take Lolo to the end. I guess that's also plan B. So Team Fun is dead, and I will say personally, I'm glad that they're dead. I think that they were in a prime spot because of the Jonathan twist to just run the table here, and Tom blowing them up really opened the game up. There is a small chance, however, that we might just switch right back to this new alliance running the table, but we'll get to that. Next up here, we finally have real alliances. We got I called them Ricky Nolo. Ricky Nolo. It's Natalie, Lolo, and Ricky. What am I? Noloi? I don't know. They don't have an alliance name.
I hadn't thought about it.
I kind of feel like Nolo sounds like it could be a last name, so like Ricky Nolo. They remain tight. They are in control of the game at this point. They remain in control of the game. They have just taken their trio and moved it somewhere else, and they're fine the way that they are there. Nolo themselves, Natalie and Lolo, still working very hard to give Natalie the win here when they sit next to each other in the final two. So they're doing successful job at that one here. We got Tomato, Tom and Cato. They are working very hard to get themselves evicted as soon as possible, so they're doing a good job there. They are the main targets of the house right now. Dina is the only person that is not actively targeting them. I guess Candy could potentially not be actively targeting them, but she's probably going home, and even if she doesn't go home, it's probably because she made a deal with the women to target them, so that's not great. Also, I feel like Dina is not super reliable. I think that she would sell them out in a second if she had to, so I think even she would probably go after them. I think that if Cato does not win the next HOH, I would very, very much expect that one of them is leaving in the next eviction.
That's really too bad. I like to see them together, and I wanted them to go far. I was very excited about the Tomato Alliance, but they just are just bad. They're just bad. They're just bad. And I really thought, I honestly, like, if you had asked me this question last week, I would have said, like, they're the brains of the house. And I do think that Nolo and Ricky are smart, but I was like, I don't know, guys. Tom, he is super good. Cato's bringing him down a little bit, but Cato's also good at, competition. So the two of them together, it's really great. They're going to go far. And literally in like less than a week now, it's just completely blown up in their faces. And I feel like I can't really trace the narrative of like how it got so bad, but it really got so bad. It's just not good for them.
It's basically like Tom changing the plan every 2 seconds, and then like that pisses off his allies, and then he's expecting that the people he put up are cool with him. Like Joey is a key part of this, where like he thinks that Joey is cool with him, even though he just put Joey on the block, and he's never actually had the conversation with Joey that is like, hey, I'm pulling you in. We're good together. I'll save you. We'll keep you safe. Whatever it is. He just kind of assumes that Joey's cool. And so Joey's not cool. He's with the women now, and everything's really not cool anymore. So yeah, it's not good news.
It really all does trace back to Tom at the end of the day, because we watched for the past 2 weeks while Tom, or at least Cato was HOH last week, and Tom was the one that's trying to influence him to do something other than what Cato wanted to do. He was talking about let's save Ryan, and then previously let's save Jonathan, which if the two of them had done that at the time, would have blown their game up a week earlier. I don't know to what extent. I don't know how things ultimately would have shaken out. But Tom clearly has a desire to just watch the world burn and just, try to make something different happen from what's actually happening. And then this week he fell into power. And, Cato, instead of being the one that's like calming him down, is, he's listening to his friend who's now in power. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll listen to your ideas. Yeah, maybe you are making sense. And Tom is just being such a bad influence that he completely dragged both of them down to the bottom of the barrel.
It's funny because Oh, go ahead.
I just saw Natalie saying right now, Tom and Cato were looking at me like they were going to tear my effing face off. Were they trying to intimidate me? Were they trying to threaten me?
Why does everyone think that there's threatening going on? There's no threatening.
Yeah, it sounded like a really
by
tense
Tom
meeting.
Green, and Cato, they're not intimidating. They're not threatening. They're like these... Oh God!
These blundering old men.
Yeah, they're like these little clowns of the house, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I'm scared for my life."
Yes. So here we are. Final this new alliance. I'm currently calling them #New Team Fun. We could also call them the Justice League. I'm up for suggestions here.
So wait, are you including Tamar in that, or just the four of them with Joey?
I am including Tamar, but I have their boot order and Tamar's in it. So
okay.
Really, we don't know
she was in the room when the alliance was formed,
Yeah.
but it's very well documented that they do not have like all three of them in the room with Tamar don't have great feelings for her still.
Yeah, like she's working with them, she's voting with them. They're not really with her in the same way, but she's, I think, technically part of the Justice League here. It's Joey, Natalie, Lolo, Tamar, and look at that, Ricky got himself involved. Their current boot order is gonna get Candy out, keep Joey safe. Next, Tom, gotta get rid of him. He's crazy. He's threatening. Gotta get rid of him. Then Cato, get rid of him. Get rid of finish off the duo. Then Tamar, the fifth person in the alliance.
Not even Joey. Joey wasn't next.
No, it was initially it was Cato, then Dina, but then Tamar was like breathed, and they were like, oh, never mind, Tamar before Dina.
Oh my God.
So according to that boot order, the final four is Joey, Ricky, and Lolo.
Right, and they're expecting to get all this done with Miss I have an excuse every time I can't win a competition. So I guess Natalie's going to win everything along the way to help them get there. Or maybe some help from Joey, who also hasn't won anything, but he's a big threat. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if it works, I guess.
Glad they have it all mapped out.
Yes, and so I'm feeling.
Yeah, I mean, do we really need to watch anymore, right? Like,
No,
they
I guess
already
we're
know
done.
that we know the boot order now.
Yeah,
Like,
thanks for
let's
coming.
just go home.
I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this group. The original Team Fun was scary because all they needed to do was not let Tom get in power, and they would have just run the table. This group definitely has some nuances here. There's Joey, who is a genuine endgame threat. They need to turn on him a lot sooner than they currently plan on doing it. There's Tamar, who is working with them, but they want to work against her, and I'm sure she'll work against them at some point very soon. And so there's a lot that's probably going to blow up here, so I think we're probably fine. There is a small chance that this might be bad, and that all Tom really ended up doing was just giving us a couple of fun days before Nolo and Ricky shifted over and then ran the table in a different way. But I'm staying optimistic. I feel like we're hopefully good.
Yeah, I feel like if Tom and Cato do get split up and then we still have this big alliance, I feel like people are going, everybody outside of it is going to look at Natalie and Lolo, and maybe even with Ricky still, and say, all right, now we have to break that up. So I don't know if, the HOH is going to be able to be kept outside of that three, if somebody else will have to win it. But say Cato gets kept in the house and now Cato rallies everybody else. Cato's perfectly capable of winning an HOH, as we know. And if he wins that, he puts the girls up, and then maybe we can just, keep breaking up the strong duos and keeping it, moving.
Yes, there was an unfortunate thing today where it was like basically the feeds up until when Tom won the HOH were like pretty dull. Like Cato HOH, it was like, oh, okay, let's wait for the next one. Tom gets into power. As soon as Tom gets into power, it's like, oh, it's party time. Let's go. It's fun. It's worth craziness. And then Tom isn't even out of power yet. He just doesn't have any more power on his HOH reign. The veto is won. The second the veto is won, everything dies down again. It's super lame.
Yes.
It's like, we need Tom to be in power to get exciting feeds. So hopefully that does not remain the case. Hopefully this new Justice League group has trust issues, and they go at each other, and they're all capable of hopefully winning some competitions here. But that's what we've got. That's the current state of the house. All right.
Yes.
So let's get ready for the stock watch. You guys ready?
Oh boy.
Me and Brent and I are ready.
I feel ready, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
All right. Well, let's see here. I'm gonna move to the stock watch here, and if you're watching along on YouTube, you can now see the chart made and maintained by the wonderful Alexandra, who is in the chat. And all right, let's do this. We'll start with our HOH Tom, who got straight 7s last week.
Ooh.
For an average
I feel like
of
that's
7.
not happening. It's
Yes.
not happening again, so oh boy.
So let's talk about Tom. And I really apologize to anybody that bought Tom stock. Oh, that's Melissa.
That's me. Why do I do this every time? Like every single time. I can't get it together with the stock watch. I'm so bad at buying stocks. Thank God I don't buy any stocks in real life. It's just so bad.
What are your thoughts on Tom this week, Melissa?
It's like I felt so good about him last week. I really did. But and honestly, like when Cato was in power, I was like, Tom's got all the good ideas and Cato's stifling him, and we need to let Tom, be free and do his own ideas because he knows what's going on in the house and he's very strategic. And now I'm like, oh my God, we need Cato to control Tom. Tom's like got all these crazy ideas that like aren't even that crazy, but the way he goes about them are just not good. And he doesn't really know how to be in an alliance very well, and his own alliance members don't want him in anymore, and they've turned on him. And I mean, it honestly, it could turn around for him. We don't know what's going to happen, but right now it's not looking good for Tom, unfortunately. So gosh, I gave him a 7 last week, and I feel like I don't know how far I want to drop him, but I feel like I want to drop him pretty far. I gotta give him like probably a 4.
All right. Well, that's high to me because I personally feel like at this point, Tom might be drawing dead. I feel like getting to the end is going to be a very tall order. Everybody is after him. Everybody's coming for him. He never really had very many solid allies himself. Most of his connections came through Cato. Now that those connections have been severed, he is in a lot of trouble. Not to mention the fact that some people are now mad at him. They're calling him crazy. They're calling him insecure. They don't really like him as a person. It's hard to even see them voting for him if he makes it to the end. Maybe just the underdog status of him somehow getting there by winning all of the competitions or whatever it takes to get him there would give him the win, but I just feel like it's going to be such a difficult road. Personally, I gave Tom a 2.
Oof.
Ugh, man, maybe mine's just wishful thinking. Maybe I'm hopeful that maybe next week he'll pick it up, but he might be gone.
So Matt has Brent's ratings, and you can also, of course, give your own rating here as well.
Yeah, so I'll let you guys know what Brent gave in terms of rating. Some of them he gave me something to rant about for a specific player, as you could expect. So he wasn't very happy with Tom this week, as most of us were not. He gave Tom a 3, which is also what I would have given Tom. I think It's interesting to me because looking at everybody else, I feel like I have other players rated as a 3, which are kind of like for different reasons. So Tom is still somebody who is constantly thinking. He's constantly trying to find a way out of the situation that he's in. And obviously he's been overplaying that so much this week that's why he's in the spot that he's in. But I do feel like we could end up in a scenario where if he and Cato are on the block next week, maybe he could talk his way into staying. Maybe if his back is up against the wall and him and Cato are the final nominations, he can go to whoever and say, listen, I know I messed up last week. I know that this and blah, 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 blah. But Cato was a much cleaner player. You guys talked about how he had a much better HOH week. He took out Ryan Lochte. I've been a mess. I don't think I'm going to get the votes at the end. And Cato's obviously, I don't know, Cato's won more competitions than me. I feel like he can make a case for himself to keep him in the game. I don't know that it'll work, but that's the only reason that I bump him up to a 3 instead of a 2.
All right.
Well, so, and like, Brent also, like I said, gave him a 3. So.
Just going to do a quick refresh on the chart there. So there you go. Tom has fallen. The audience.
He's fallen pretty far.
Yes. The audience decided to give Tom a 4 out of 10.
Does seem high to me.
I think so.
I'm always with the audience. We can all, look at that. If you want to know what the audience thinks, you can ask me.
Yeah, maybe a little bias coming into play here with Tom. He is fun, but I don't know if he's a 4 fun.
I think it's like a hopeful 4, where it's like we've seen him do good work and he can still do it again. We have faith.
Yeah, everyone's just so pissed off at him right
faith.
now. They're Natalie talking about I can't even stand to look at him. He was giving me looks, whatever it was. There's not a lot of love for Tom in the house besides from Mr. Cato Kalin. So not looking great.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to Cato. He got 2 5s, 2 6s last time. Overall average of 6. This week also seems to have fallen a bit here. He has definitely gone down with the ship with Tom. He does remain a potential jury threat here, I guess. Although the trash talk is mostly focused on Tom, there is also some trash talk about Cato. There's not as much respect for him as there used to be. And again, his prospects moving forward are pretty low. I think he could potentially bounce back if Tom leaves and maybe Dina leaves and he wins a veto and he's safe, and then he's like the sole person, and then it's like, oh, we need to take out Tamar or Joey first. It's possible, but I do think his prospects have gone down here. So personally, I give Cato a 3. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, gosh, I feel like previously with my previous ratings, I was thinking, Tom and Cato are pretty similar, but I felt more confident with Tom's strategic ability, whereas I felt like Cato was playing it safe and also not really making the right choices and not listening to Tom when I felt like he should have. Now I feel like he's listening to Tom when he shouldn't be listening to Tom. And, I still don't feel very confident about his strategic abilities, but I feel like him and Tom have kind of evened themselves out in a way, because I don't really feel, I wish I could say I felt good about either of them, but I don't really. So I'm going to give Cato a 4 as well.
Yes, Brent gave Cato a 3, so his sentiments pretty much matched what Taryn said. I would give him a 4, personally. I feel like I can't justify giving him the same rating as Tom, who I feel like Tom needs to be a little bit lower than him. I feel like Tom is the one who completely messed everything up for their alliance. Obviously, Cato is an accomplice. He's kind of gone along with everything, but I feel like Cato has a much better ability to kind of rebound from this. I think all eyes are going to be on Tom next week. Like I said, there was respect for him from like the Lolo and Natalie saying like Cato did this great last week and now Tom came in and is doing a completely awful job this week. So I don't know. I feel like he still has some room to maneuver. And like I said, I just couldn't give him as low as Tom. So.
Yes, that's why I gave Tom a 2.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. The audience.
I thought you gave him both 3.
The audience decided to give Cato the same rating as Tom, a 4.
Oh.
Fun fact, actually, Tom had a slightly higher overall average than Cato. So
Yeah, people still like him. It's the hopeful four.
that audience.
The audience doing the same thing as me every time.
That's so you would rate Tom slightly higher than Cato?
Kind of. Just because I feel like, okay, I wouldn't, but I want to. I want to because I feel like I have more confidence in Tom moving forward. Whereas Cato, I feel like I don't have confidence in I just feel like he's very susceptible to whoever he's talking to. So whoever he's talking to, he's just going to go along with what they're saying and what they're doing. And I don't always feel like that's best for his game. And so I just feel like I feel more confident that Tom would maybe come up with a possible good idea and stick with it. And I don't really feel that way about Cato. So there's to give credit to Tom, but at the same time, I probably wouldn't rank him higher than Cato right now.
Yes. Bill Hall in the chat. New Pan Man has fallen from grace. So next up, let's talk about Lolo. See what's up with Lolo. Last week, I gave her a 4. Brent gave her a 4. Melissa in the audience gave her 6s. That seems high to me. But this week, let's shoot it to Matt first. What did Brent say? What do you say?
Brent actually went up a little bit this week. He gave Lolo a 6. He said, "I've been really impressed." No, I'm just kidding. No, Brent gave Lolo a 1. He said.
Wow.
I don't know. Is this the first one of the season? Probably,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, he went down to
Brent
a 1.
just wanted to take the first one.
Yeah. Lolo cannot win, period. See Marissa Jarrett Winokur's tweet. I guess the one that Taryn retweeted.
Mm-hmm.
Taryn was right. I have it in text right here. The phrase Taryn was right. Yeah, I don't know if I was supposed to read that out loud. But yeah, so he gave Lolo a 1. I don't know if this is controversial, but I gave her a 3 myself. I feel like besides the fact that she's obviously doing terrible in terms of like jury management, she's not in the worst spot in the house. Like I feel like she's I know I'm making fun of the fact that she's not able to win any competitions and she keeps coming up with excuses. But I do feel like if she needs to win, she will put that extra, fight into a competition. I feel like she's got allies around her that people, the group is in her favor right now. So I feel like while she may not be the best player, she's not in danger of going home next, I think, or the week after. So I'm feeling okay about her longevity, but not about her end game. So 3.
Yes, I am more closely aligned with Brent here. I gave Lolo a 2. I feel like, despite the fact that she could maybe she's one of the more likely people to be sitting there at the end, I think she is easily the least likely person to win in the end. I think that she could maybe beat Tamar, and it's hard to find anybody else that she could beat. Like, I guess there's a small chance that Ricky pisses off enough people that they're somewhat even, but Lolo is just so far ahead in terms of pissing people off. It's hard to see how she ever wins a jury vote. Not only that, but she is the main target ahead of Natalie. If anybody outside of their group ever wins an HOH, Lolo is the first one to go. So she's even like one of the least likely of the Ricky Nolo pair or trio to even make it to the end. So I really see a hard time for her to win here. Melissa, what do you think?
It's hard for me to give her a low score because I do feel like she's in a good place right now, and I feel like she's aligning herself with good people, and I think she's got a good mind for the strategy. Plus, like, yeah, she's not winning competitions, but I think she could. And I feel like her and Natalie are really strong. So I feel like it's strange to me to give her a bad score right now, just because all those things I said line up to be, oh, she's a strong player. She's doing a great job. But I just feel like her personality, like you guys said, is just really abrasive. And I don't know if I see a situation where people vote for her. On a normal season, maybe I could see it because she could get down to the end with someone who didn't do anything. And then it's a situation where they have to decide between, being like bitter or whatever, being not. But I feel like with celebrity, like they can go back, they can see things. It's very different. You're not secluded in jury. And So I do think that matter, like being nice to people in the house for celebrity matters way more than it does in a regular season. So it's this strange situation right now where she's playing well and she's doing fine, but will she win it? Probably not. So it feels weird, but I feel like I have to give her a 4.
Whoa. I can't. The audience is going to give her a 4 too.
The way I feel is that it's weird for me to be like, okay, I'm marking her the same as Tom and Cato when I feel like Tom and Cato are playing way worse. But I think it's a situation is if either Tom or Cato gets out and then they then the other person from their Tomato Alliance goes towards the end. Do I see them winning over Lolo? Yeah. So, but I don't know which one of the Tomato Alliance is going to continue forward and which one's going to be kicked out.
Sure,
so,
like let's say Lolo gets to the end. Who does she win against?
I think it's possible that she could win against people. Like I think it's possible she could win against Dina. Well, it's possible she could win against anyone. I know that sounds like crazy, but like it sounds non-specific or on purpose. But I just feel like she could win against anyone. I don't think it's a situation where there's no possible way that she could win. Do I see her winning? Probably not. But she could, and she could win against someone like Dina if, for example, Dina doesn't do anything the whole game and gets to the end. Maybe people are like, well, Lolo really tried. She like pushed really hard. We saw how hard she was working, and Dina didn't do anything. So why reward someone who didn't do anything? I don't know. So I just think there are possibilities where she could win, but I don't think it's very likely.
No, I mean, that's fair. I obviously jury votes are difficult to predict, and I think that if history has anything to say, I think that she'll have a very hard time. But I would not completely discount an opposing position here, especially when it comes to a jury vote. That said, I mean, Matt, you tweeted at me her calling like, oh yeah, we're just getting out all of the chauvinistic pigs, and what she's doing on the show and the edit. Like, there's just so much that she's doing wrong here. And it's like, even as somebody that would want to reward gameplay, I feel like her gameplay has been terrible in the sense that gameplay in Celebrity Big Brother, a lot of it has to do with not being like mean for no reason. Like, there's no reason to do that, and there's no upside.
I noticed that she had a self-awareness when she was talking to Ika before the season, when she was talking about, I'm really bad at social skills. I'm really bad at dealing with people, and I know this is going to go bad for me. And I mean, watching her on the challenge, I knew that coming into the season that she was going to struggle with that. She's found herself in a spot where she has allies. So she's found people that she can get along with. Natalie, she gets along with, Tamar to like this to an extent. And obviously she's okay with Ricky. So I feel like I said, there's people that she can work with, but I feel like the only way at this point that she could get to the end and have a case to win is if she was able to look at people like starting now and say like, listen, this is me. This is my past. I've never been good with people, so I'm sorry if I snap on you. I'm sorry if I take this too seriously, whatever. But she's not that. She's not that person. She's never going to be the person to reflect on that. And maybe she'll have this conversation to Natalie, but she's not like open enough to share that with everybody and like help bring people in and understand why she's so like this. Because it's really like it doesn't seem like she's meaning to act this way. It's just kind of like, it's just who she is, and there's not much she can do about it, but it really isn't helping her case, to be snapping on Tom every 5 seconds when they talk to get that jury vote, Yeah,
so. And we have gotten some confirmation in Jonathan's exit interview where he talks about Lolo. It definitely seemed like he was not particularly pleased with her, didn't particularly like her that much. And as Brent mentioned, the fact that Marissa, who obviously won last season, is tweeting about like when Lolo is doing her thing on the episode, which is like crying and blaming Ryan for betraying him and all of this stuff. Marissa is like, whoa, what's up with that? Like, why is he doing that? At Jonathan, at Ryan Lochte. Like, what these people are talking about, right? Like, this is definitely happening right now. So, it is still somewhat early days. Things could change. So I hear Melissa out.
Yeah, I mean, you could end up with like Natalie evicted from the house, and then Natalie and say Tamar's out of the house, and they lead the charge to say, let's get our girl to win. You never know what could happen, but who knows? Who knows?
Well, the audience is even higher on Lolo than Melissa.
my God.
They gave her a 5.
I was considering giving her a 5, and then I was like, okay, that's gonna be too much, I think. I think you guys would have fainted.
Very, very barely makes the 5. It's a 4.54. So.
I just want to talk to Brent right now, who's not listening live, but when he's listening back, Brent, calm down. We'll get through this. Like, I know you're heated right now, and he's probably already typing out the tweet. Like what is wrong with you people? And I get the frustration because like we are talking about she's not looking great, but Brent,
somebody call Ricky. Okay. He can help Brent out. So
yeah, we'll just make very clear right now that Brent is strongly disagreeing with that.
He is fuming right now as he's listening.
Yeah, we've got words, audience. We need to talk. I feel like
the
maybe,
one rating.
Yeah, I feel like maybe you're secretly working against us. I feel like we know that we're lying to each other right now, and I just feel like maybe we need to be doing some backdoors. All right, let's talk about Natalie, Eva, Marie.
Yes.
No longer allowed to wear bikinis in the house.
No, that drops her rating down a little bit. I don't know if she's going to be able to win without him.
I noticed that we did that whole, like, it was a 40-minute update. The only thing I saw people talk about was Natalie's bikini. Like, Taryn said Natalie's not allowed to wear her bikini? What?
It's important, Taryn. That's what the people want to know about, bikinis.
Yeah. So let's talk about Natalie. Melissa, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Natalie?
I feel really good about Natalie. I think that she's in a good position, and especially because I feel like she has some meat shields in front of her. She's got, first of all, Lolo, like we just talked about, and everyone's going to want to get Lolo out before Natalie. They look at the two of them as a pair, but Lolo is the main target out of the two of them. And also she's got Ricky there. People are looking at Ricky and thinking he's suspicious and all that, but I'm not hearing so much talk about Natalie as a person. I've heard about, okay, Nolo or whatever would like Natalie as an entity with other people, but you don't really hear people saying like specifically they need to target Natalie. And I also think that she's doing a good job of kind of staying out of a lot of the mean-spirited drama, which will get certain people in trouble later with the vote. So I feel really, really good about what she's doing in the game. And also she just won that veto and showed that she has some competition chops. So that could go well for her moving forward. So, yeah, I'm gonna give her an 8.
An 8. All right. Up from your 7 last week. Matt, what did Brent think? What do you think?
Brent gave Natalie an 8 as well. I personally, I had given her a 7, but I mean, we're in the same ballpark here. We're both impressed with her game. Specifically, he said, I continue to believe in this girl. She's in a final 2 with an absolute GOAT, and I don't think that she would be evicted if they were nominated together. She still has a tendency to say stupid things on the feeds that celebrities at home might hold against her, but luckily there's other people there that are doing much worse. Yeah. So I pretty much am fully on board with that. I feel like given this group, I mean, if you're looking at this group of players, and just comparing it, maybe I could give her like a 9 because she is like far above all of these other people right now. But I mean, I'm trying to, be a little bit more realistic. I feel like she's playing well. I just don't want to get too ahead of myself and give her, too much credit. I think it might just be the fact that there's so many other bad players around her that are making her look so good. But I kept expecting that. As Brent pointed out, that like she might say things here or there that could bring her down. I feel like she hasn't actually gone over the line or anything yet. So I feel like she's still doing well. I'm not too worried about her like I am, especially with like a Lolo. So 7, 8. Brent gave her the 8. So.
Yeah, I agree with Brent's assessment, but I am not grading on a curve. So despite the fact that Natalie is in one of the best positions in the game, I have to give myself room for when people actually start to play well. I wouldn't call what Natalie's doing that quite yet. As Brent pointed out, she's making some mistakes here and there in terms of jury management, in terms of how she's operating in the house. I actually don't like that she won this veto. I think that it it's not good for her that she's now won more competitions than Lolo, technically, because now they've won together. But it's not good that she's shown herself to be a competition threat. And it's also, especially the fact that she was the last person on the wall and she dropped, like she gave it to Cato. And the fact that she was like all about this idea of let's not even tell Tom what we're doing with the veto, that was like so just unnecessary. You don't need to be doing that. It just seems mean-spirited. I don't like that at all. So personally, I gave her a 6 to give you some spoiler alert. That is the highest rating I've given anyone this week, and it is going to be the highest rating I give anyone this week. It doesn't go above 6, and that's because, again, I'm not grading on a curve. If I was, then she would be up there in terms of in comparison to the rest of the house. But 6 is like, all right, you're playing one of the best games in the house in this probably 4 average house. So there you go, 2 above average.
And I don't want to forget like the points, like things that might be like going negative for her. There was the fact that maybe she's not as great as at on the spot lying as I would like, because there was the whole thing yesterday where she came into the room and she was like, "Oh, we haven't even talked about it for like the whole day. We don't know what Lolo and I haven't discussed it." And Tom's like, "You've had 3 hours. Like, what do you mean you haven't talked about anything?" And Tom was also angry at her today because apparently during the veto competition, Natalie kept calling Tom out to like go again. It was like a knockout kind of style. And so I guess Tom is like well aware of the fact that Natalie wanted Tom to go out in that competition. So I don't know if, say Cato wins next week, if they specifically want Natalie. I don't know. I feel like there are flaws in her game.
Yes, the audience was actually with me on this one. The audience gave Natalie a 6. So there you go. That's gonna 2 6s, 2 8s. It's gonna average out to a 7, which is the same as last week. All right, let's move on to Ricky, who got 3 6s from us and a 7 from the audience last week. Let's see how Ricky fared this time. It's interesting because last week Ricky was doing very well, and then his thing with Tom happened like halfway through the day before the roundtable. So a lot of the audience votes, I think, came before his spat with Tom, and then we rated him after, and it was sort of tentative, like, is this a regular thing with Ricky? Is this gonna be just a blip on the radar? And it kind of turned out to be a little bit of both, where it's not really his personality. In fact, I'd say like 90 to 95% of the time, he is totally chill and like probably the best player in the house. And then that extra 5% of the time, he's like bottom third, and he just gets weird, and it's hard to really get a full understanding of what Ricky is doing in the house. Personally, I feel similarly to Ricky as I do with Natalie, where I think that he is playing. I think Ricky is probably playing the best game of, like, ignoring everything else. I think Ricky's playing the best game of Big Brother, where he's like positioning himself really well. He was positioned in between 2 pairs, and then he was potentially in danger. He had allies protect him, and then was able to shift. And now he's again in a position where he's got a pair in front of him, and he's got Joey and Tamar, who are both either wild cards or bigger threats than him. I think Ricky is just positioned so well in this game, but this weirdness that he has is definitely weighing him down. I don't know how the jury will see that. I think that they will respect his gameplay, but he might have pissed some of them off over the course of the game that they might not want to vote for him. It's hard to tell because he does come off pretty well in the episodes, I think. It's just these little moments in the house that might drag him down. So personally, I also gave him a 6 here, one of the better positions in the house, but again, kind of weird overall. So Melissa, what are your thoughts on Ricky?
Yeah, I feel similar to you in that there's that weird little 5% area where you're like, what's going on there? Is he making people angry? Is he gonna like just mess up his game by causing some sort of rift between him and someone? We don't know. And I do think he's in a very similar position that he was last week. There's still people who are thinking that he's a threat and that he needs to go, and he was being targeted this week, which is not good for him. But the fact that he was able to use his allies to get him out of that and still have people wanting to work with him, and have basically Lolo and Natalie choose him over Tom and Cato, that I think goes to show that there are people in his corner, and I think that's really important. So I'm going to give him a 7.
Brent went with a 5. His sentiments were pretty much exactly what Taryn said. He happy that he has allies that want him in the game. He said that Candy's eviction might not help him, but we did see, as recent as like an hour or two ago, he was talking to Tom and Cato about, I want Candy to go because I think she's a little too close to Tamar. So, I mean, I did think for a while that the Candy and Ricky connection might be something because they play chess together every day. They're always hanging out and talking, but I guess Ricky's just focusing on the game. Candy doesn't talk game to anybody, which we'll get into, but he wants the people around him that are going to help him move forward in the game. So I guess Candy's not really offering him much, so he's fine to see her go this week. Personally, I would have given him a 6. Same thing pretty much as the 5. I think he's been doing well. I think my only issue with him is I think he's probably not somebody who's going to find an easy way to the end. I've never have we seen him study? I don't really know if we have or not. I don't think so, but I feel like nobody's going to want to pull him, the final competition of Big Brother Celebrity, if it's the same as that you pull one person to the final 2 with you. I feel like the target on Ricky's back, especially from all this Tom influence of Ricky's a big threat, he has to go, is going to be so massive that when the time comes to pick somebody to go to the end, even if he's still there, I think he will have to win or he will not make the final 2.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about the Candy thing. I think, Candy was somebody that he could have used, but Candy doesn't seem very capable of winning competitions, at least so far. So she's not really valuable to him in that way. And then she's not somebody that he should be sitting next to in the end, because I think that Candy would probably win. She's just so respectable that I feel like he would probably lose to her. So I can kind of understand why he would want to show her the door here, especially leaving Joey, who's this big threat, and Tamar, who's another person that the women can't stand. I think that Ricky's best shot to get to the end is that somebody along the way takes a shot at Lolo and Natalie, which will, odds are more likely that it happens than that it doesn't happen. And they would take the shot at the women before they took the shot at Ricky, probably. So if that's the case, if one of them leaves, I think the other one takes Ricky, hands down. They've both talked about how they think they can beat Ricky in the end, that they think that he's pissed off too many people. And so I think that if Natalie leaves and it's Ricky and Lolo, I think they're taking each other, and I think Ricky wins. If Lolo leaves, it's Natalie and Ricky, and I think that's a pretty good battle there at the end. I think that it would be a bit of a toss-up, and I'm not sure who would take the win at that point. So either way, I think that he's not in too bad shape there. And then also, there's something to be said about if they make it to the final 4 and it's Tamar or it's Joey or whoever. I think that if both of the women are still there, then I think there's going to be this sort of idea of, well, they're going to take each other, so Ricky and whoever else, we should take each other too. So I do think he has some outs, but I do also take the point that it's not quite as clear, it's not quite as easy as the women have it at the moment.
Yeah, his smooth ways of talking, being calm all the time. He found out that the backdoor plan existed, and he was, we saw the passive aggressive tone in his voice when he went to talk to Tom and Cato, but I don't know if Tom and Cato knew that Ricky was in on the plan. So when he approached them to say, so what are you guys thinking? How you doing? What's the plan? Are we still good for the same thing? He never went to them with any kind of aggression. He didn't go, talking to Tom the same way that he's been correcting himself ever since he found out that Tom, didn't like Ricky's vibe towards him ever since Lolo told him about that. He hasn't been that way towards Tom. So I feel like he's able to adjust how he is behaving, I guess. But you really never know, given how good we thought he was doing last week. And then a few days later, things turned around. So who knows how it'll actually end up. But I think he has the makings to be a good player.
Yes. All right. The audience agreed with me. They gave him a 6 out of 10.
All right. Okay. Fair enough, audience.
Yes. Nikki was saying in the chat earlier that this is going to probably be the lowest average ranking of maybe any week in Stockwatch history, and I definitely can see that happening.
I also like following the storyline of Melissa being low-key annoyed that the audience is not agreeing with her in the last couple of
I'm
votes.
a little upset. I'm not going to lie. That was kind of my thing, and I feel like they're purposely picking numbers that are different than mine. So, it's a little disheartening to see them turn on you like that.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? Let's
be mad about it. I'm going to be mad about it.
Let's move on to Tamar. I'll start with Tamar. I gave her a 2 last week, and I'm not going to change it this week. I'm going to give her a 2 again. I do think that getting the fan vote helps a little bit in terms of her end game potential, and it certainly keeps her safe for a couple of weeks. But just the way that she plays the game, it's so hard to find a way for her to even get to the end without just like winning her way all the way there. And then even if she does get there, it's really hard to see her win. I think that she is one of the least likely winners at this point, and I think it goes to show where when Tom talked to Joey about having the power, Joey was able to completely convince Tom 100%, I do not have the power. You should even, in fact, work with me. Tom then had a similar conversation with Tamar, and Tamar's response was, whoa, why are you threatening me? Oh my God, this is terrible. And their relationship just continues to spiral and spiral. And now everyone is pretty convinced that Tamar has the power. She has not been able to hide that fact. And even she just formed an alliance, and they're already wanting to take a shot at her as soon as they feel comfortable enough to do so. I think that she might have a path, which is that, there's always one person that they need to get out before Tamar, and then Tamar somehow gets there in the end and is sitting next to Lolo. I'm not sure exactly how that happens, but if it does, then I think that she's got a shot. But other than that, it's just really hard to find the scenario where she wins. So I gave her a 2 once again. Matt, what are your thoughts?
We got a 4 from Brent. He feels like she's mellowed out a little bit, and he thinks that she still can get to the end and win, but she has no final 2 or real allies because Lolo and Natalie keep her at an arm's length. I also would be giving her a 4 this week. I feel like I agree that she's like calmed down a little bit. Last time we checked in with her, she was crying and having a freak out in a onesie for 3 days straight. So obviously an improvement from where we were there. I feel like we might see like it's not a 1-to-1, but like maybe a little bit of a comparison to like the Josh thing if she can get to the end and pull off the win, because it's like no one took Josh seriously the entire season. He was always such a wild card, and while Josh's name didn't come up as we have to get this guy out of here nearly as much as Tamar's does, it's still a situation where if this person can keep surviving and they end up in the end, people are still entertained by her. Like Tom is having an argument with her and he's like, you're funny. Like you're keeping me laughing. Like this is great television. I understand what you're here for. You're here for entertainment. I understand what you do and you do it well. So I don't know if she's actually hurting anybody's feelings. I feel like everyone's just like, yeah, that's Tamar. If anything, I think you might end up in a scenario where if she gets to the end, the people who don't want her to win the most are the people who are in her room, the Ricky, Lolo, and Natalie, who are like, no. We did all the work and we carried her to the end. So there's no chance in hell that this girl is getting the win. But I don't think she's drawing dead nearly as much as like Lolo is. So I would give her a 4.
Bill Hall in the chat says, yeah, she's calm in the way that -5 degrees in the Midwest is now warm.
There you go.
So
it's an improvement for her.
Yes.
So.
Melissa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to give her a 4 as well, because I gave her a 3 last week, and I do feel like I felt like last week she was done for. I thought she was going to go out right away. I didn't think there was any chance that she was staying. She was making too many enemies. It just wasn't going to happen for her. But I feel like she's in a better place now than she was last week. She has that power, which is going to keep her around for a while. And, I do think that she has that new alliance, even though she's in their boot list. But they have a bigger fish to fry right now. Whereas I feel like before it was easier for people to be like, let's just get Tamar out. Let's get her out. Like she's causing too many issues. Let's get her out. Now I feel like even though she's still like causing some issues, there are bigger threats that need to be dealt with first. So I feel like with that extra time, maybe something could happen for her. And I just feel like I'm not as worried about her immediately leaving the house as I was last week. So that's why I'm going to give her a 4.
All right. Well, the audience was actually even higher than us on Tamar. The audience gave her a
Of course.
5. Again, it was barely a 5, but it was a 5.
Okay.
So there you go. A 5 for Tamar from the audience.
I'm starting to understand why you were telling more people to vote at the beginning of this to maybe bring the averages back to a more reasonable number.
Well, all of the ratings have been 4, 5, or 6 at this point. So
maybe a late rush from like the people who are like actually watching this right now and maybe more reasonable in terms of voting.
Yeah, really just trying to get a wider variety here. I mean, even if it has to go down, which I think it probably should, like a wider variety of down ratings. But you know, what are you going to do?
Yes.
So let's move on to Joey. Got some interesting stuff to talk about with Joey because he had an average of 3 last time, but I think his game has definitely improved since then. Matt, what are your thoughts on Joey, and what were Brent's thoughts?
We both rated Joey a 5 for this week, which is definitely up from wherever I would have had him last week. Brent said he's a clear threat to win. They're making a mistake of keeping him this week. I'm still waiting for a Joey Tamar alliance. LOL. The one that we all need. I think that he will get taken out Maslow style, but as for this week, he's played about as well as Joey Lawrence can play, which again, I do agree with. I think we've been saying, earlier in this podcast, as well as this morning, that he did well for himself over the past 24 hours. And if he can keep that going and keep reinforcing with everybody that we're with this new Team Fun 2.0, that I am on board to get these guys out next week. Keep me. I'm a strong competitor and I'm with you guys. He might be able to stay in the house in a spot where he definitely should not be staying in the house.
All right, Melissa. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in an agreement with that because I would give Joey a 5 as well. I feel like he did good work this week, but I'm not totally sold on his ability. I don't totally know if he's invested and that this is going to keep up. But the fact that he was able to switch or basically flip the house and convince everyone to work with him when basically no one wanted to work with him, I think that's huge. He was essentially a dead man walking at the beginning, and now I think he has a shot. So I feel a lot better about him. Do I feel super great about him? No, not really, but I definitely feel there's a market improvement.
So a 5 from Melissa as well. I'm in agreement. I also gave him a 5 this week. Finally, we're all agreeing on something, and it's Joey.
Now we have to see what the audience says.
Crazy.
Yes, I agree. I think that Joey has shown incredible improvement, and I think he's really shown what he's capable of here. Honestly, I think that he is capable of playing one of, if not the best game in the house if he had been applying himself all along. He just hasn't been. But now that he's in the game, I think that is definitely a sign of danger for everyone else. He's capable of winning competitions. However, I don't think he's super capable of winning the mental competitions, the quiz competitions toward the end of the game. And I think that's his real downfall. I'd give him a 6, probably a 6, maybe even a 7 if I felt confident in his competition ability at the end, but I don't. And I also don't see who takes him to the end. So I feel like that's his biggest weakness here, is how does Joey get to the final 2? I think once he gets there, I think he wins. I think he beats most people. But it's hard to find a scenario where he's able to beat people who are studying successfully, whereas he's been studying unsuccessfully or not studying. And it's hard to find a person that would willingly take Joey to the end unless they felt comfortable that he didn't care enough, which is possible. And I think that's his win condition, is that somebody gets there like Tamar or Ricky-less and Natalie-less Lolo or something like that, and they feel like, well, Joey doesn't really care. He never really wanted to be here. I can easily beat him, right? And then they pull him up and they find out they're very mistaken. But it's harder to find that scenario for him, so it's down to a 5 because of that. We'll see how it goes over the course of the next week, but for now, a 5 from me. And yes, the audience concurs with all of us here. Straight 5s from everyone.
Great job, everybody.
That's impressive.
Yeah, Joey couldn't even remember how he got on the block. So, I mean, him getting to the final competition and remembering like stats from the whole season really seems out of the question.
Yeah. So let's talk about Candy, who got straight fours last time, an average of $4 for her shares. And it's not looking great for Candy here. Things not looking very positive in Candy's direction. Melissa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not great. I was thinking, I'm just going to give her a 4 again because her game really hasn't changed at all. She's just really done nothing. But then remembered, oh, yeah, wait, she's on the block and she's probably going to go home, especially if we're sitting here giving Joey straight 5s. So, yeah, she's likely going home. So even though her game really hasn't changed at all since she walked into the house, it matters now because she's on the block and probably going to go home. And it's unfortunate that her game really hasn't changed at all because she doesn't seem to really, I just don't really feel like there's that much fight in her. And I was happy to see that in Joey, and I feel like I'm not seeing enough of that in her. So, but here's the thing. This could all be moot because it could be that we're sitting here saying, wow, Joey, he's doing so great. And then 5 minutes from now, we'll end this podcast and Joey will be target number 1 again and Candy will be safe. We don't know. So I don't think this is a situation where Candy is for sure out the door, give her a 1. I don't think that's the case here. But at the same time, it's not looking good. So I'm going to give her a 3.
Yeah, I was thinking about giving her a 3 because I agree. I think that she has a chance to stay, and I think that if she does stay, she is one of the more likely people to win if she is sitting in the end. But I was thinking, like, okay, even if the vote does flip this week, where does she go from here? And it's so hard to find. She has no allies except for maybe Tamar. Like, Tamar is her best ally at this point, and that's really scary. She's really not. She is what we all were saying Joey was. She's not playing the game. She doesn't really seem like she wants to be there. And it's sad because I think that she's probably one of the smartest people in the house, but she's just kind of like, she's not invested. She just doesn't seem to be doing anything. And so honestly, even though I think that she could win in the end and that she'd be really well liked, it's like, how does she even get there? And would they really respect that? Like, she's done absolutely nothing. I'm not even completely sure at this point. So add on to the fact that she is probably going home this week. I took it down from a 3 and I gave her a 2. Sorry, Candy.
Yeah. I think Candy's a very smart, successful businesswoman, and I think that is why she's in the Big Brother house. I think, it seems like it came up last minute, the opportunity to go on the show, and she was like, I don't know what this is, but the money looks good enough, and all I have to do is sit in the house for a couple weeks and play a game that might be fun. She never once seemed like she was like, she never seemed like she was really here to play the game. She had a strategy going in. She's like, well, I want to get in the big room and talk to a lot of people, but that completely fizzled out. She hasn't done that at all. She sits around the house all day long. She's playing cards with Dina at the kitchen table, or she's in a room. And I don't know how she can talk for the entire day. Like, she can talk for 12 hours a day and have not one of those conversations be about the game. Not one of them. She'll play chess with Ricky. She just does not talk about game at all.
Which is so crazy. How could you not talk about game? How can you just literally live in the house? Like, that's really all she's doing is just living in the house. How is that possible when you would think that surrounding you?
You would think that after like at least 2 weeks of the game happening all around her, that she would be interested in what's going on. Like, she doesn't even talk to anybody like, oh, well, this alliance. Like, she probably has no idea that there was an alliance, that it's blowing up. Like, there's so much going on in the house around her that we're eating up, and like, she doesn't know any of what's going on because she just sits playing cards all day. So it's sad to see that this is the way that her game has gone. And I agree. I don't know how she's getting to the end because she's not working with anybody. She's not trying to work with anybody. Her strategy, or not strategy, her ability to just be friendly with everybody was going a decent way for a while, but this is the kind of gameplay that can get you caught in a sticky situation where she's at right now, because if you end up on the block and nobody cares enough to save you, you're going to go home, which seems to be the case for this week. So not great for Candy. I don't know if I even said the numbers, but Brent did give her a 2. I had her at a 3, but I just talked myself down to a 2. So it looks like a 2. Yeah, see, Alexander just asked what Brent's score was. So it's a 2.
Well, the audience finally broke the trend here and gave Candy a 3. Very, very barely. It's a 3.49 is what it was. So just makes a 3 there for Candy from the audience, which is going to complete a low rating here. Still not quite as low as it could have been, but it's a 3 average. Well, let's move on to the final person here, Dina. Let's talk about Dina. I gave her a 4 last week. Brent gave her a 4. Melissa gave her a 5. The audience gave her a 3. So the audience was the lowest on Dina by far. This week, myself, I feel like Dina has improved. I do. I feel like I like what she did last week when she went on the block and she managed to sort of talk both sides into thinking that they could work with her. She does have allies. The allies are Tom and Cato, which is not great, but Tom and Cato are much bigger threats than her at the moment. She has moved down the hit list to at least after Candy, Tom, and Cato, and it's even gone to the point where they've been talking about Tamar before Dina. That leaves Dina in the final 5. If Dina's in the final 5, it's not like she can't win a mental competition. I think she could. And I think that Dina is the number 1 jury threat in the house. I think that if she gets to the end, she wins, hands down, no question. So I think the fact that she even gets close there is kind of scary for her winning capability. So personally, I gave her a 4 last week. I do think I think she's improved. I think she's willing to play a little bit, but she's also super nice, and I think she's gonna get there in the end. So I gave her a 5 this week, and the longer she stays in the game, the more likely the score is to go up, because she really just don't let her anywhere near the end. That's what I have to say. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I also would have her at a 4. Well, no, I'm sorry, you gave her a 5, but I have her at a 4. I feel she has stayed pretty consistent. Brent gave her a 3. He said he's pretty much just saying that, oh, wow, she's still there kind of thing. Like, she's playing a decent game that could get her to the end, or not a decent game. I don't know. I'll read for exactly what he says so I don't mess it up. She's still there. I guess a 3. I think she could possibly win if she gets to the end, but she has no allies. However, she does get along with people, and that alone moves her ahead of people like Tamar. So, I mean, I'm on board with that as well. I think she kind of falls into the same kind of boat as Ricky or Joey, where I don't know if she's getting to the final 2 if she doesn't win that competition to get her there. I feel like she could end up at final 5, but maybe going out at final 5, because it's like, all right, everybody loves her. We can't, there was still the fear last week that the girls were talking about. She's kind of just like Marissa. Everybody likes her and she's not bothering anybody. So I feel like they still know they have to get her out before the end, but there's still so many bigger targets ahead of her.
All right, Melissa.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my rating from last week, which is a 5, even though I do think she is in a better position this week than she was last week. I still feel like she's not doing anything differently than she was last week. I still think she has a good chance of winning. I agree with everything you guys said, but I just don't feel comfortable giving her a 6. I feel like that's just too high for someone who's really not doing anything, and the only reason we're thinking that is because people just aren't even thinking of her, like I just feel like the reason why she's not considered a big threat and isn't like near the beginning of the boot order or whatever is because they're just like not thinking about her because she's not doing anything. So I think that she has a good chance of winning, but at the same time, I don't feel comfortable giving her a 6 and, saying that she's playing a good game just because I don't feel like she's doing anything. So I'm going to give her a 5. And I do hope, though, that she picks up her game for next week and really starts, playing.
Yes.
Maybe with Candy gone, maybe she'll have to talk to somebody else. She spends her whole day talking to Candy and playing card games with Candy. So maybe once Candy's gone, she'll gravitate more towards Cato and Tom and maybe learn something about how to play.
Yeah. The chat is calling Brent out for apparently saying that Dina moves ahead of Tamar, but in fact gave Tamar a higher rating than Dina. I don't know if he got his numbers wrong or if this is just Brent being Brent.
I would just read what I had on my phone.
So there you go.
All right. That works.
The audience gave Dina a 4 this week. The audience not quite as high as Melissa or myself, but not quite as weirdly low as Brent, given his description.
I feel like I mean maybe he said it was a 3, probably around the same thing, 3 or 4. It's she's okay, but she's not doing anything to impress anyone.
Yeah, this is the moment where if Brent was here, I'd call him out and he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, well, that's what I thought." So, all right, so there you go. That's the stock watch. We've got 1.7 average in Natalie. We've got 1.6 here with Ricky. Then 1.5 with Joey. The rest are below average. Tom with 3, Cato with 4, Lolo with 3, Tamar with 4, Candy with 3, and Dina with 4. So
There it is.
I'm probably with you guys here. This is probably the lowest average rating of an entire cast that we've ever had so far.
Oh boy. Yikes.
Someone's got to win. Someone has to win this season, and I don't know if it'll be one of the lower rated people or the higher rated, but someone's got to do it.
Hey, look, Casey won, I think, with a solid average of 6. I think that was right about where she should have been. You can win with a 6 or a 4.
Sure, but most of our players right now are below a 6.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's talk about, before we get into the buying and selling, I want to talk a little bit about some of these other questions that I had. One of which were the jury vote predictions. Wanted to get into, what order do you think that the jury would prefer to vote in? So who are they most likely to vote for if they're sitting in the end versus who are they least likely to vote for? This is a much easier question to answer this time around because you can just drag and drop instead of having to do like numbers for everything, and it was dumb last time. Now it's easy, and we're going to keep asking this question as we go along. Very happy to have it in this format. So first was Jonathan. Who do we think Jonathan is most likely to vote for versus who do we think he is least likely to vote for? I think that we would probably all have the same first 2 answers, and the audience certainly had the first 2 neck and neck here. Dina and Joey were at the top of the list, very, very close together.
Yes.
Yeah, I could do that.
Definitely. Yeah, I have Joey over Dina, but I could see it either way.
Yes. So those 2, definitely the more likely people he's going to vote for. Down at the bottom, you've got Lolo at the very bottom, followed by Tamar, followed by Candy, interestingly.
It's my exact order.
Yes.
The exact order I've written down.
So, Candy, I think, probably makes sense with Jonathan in particular. I feel like he is probably not one of the more likely people to reward Candy for not doing much in the game. I think he would want to reward somebody that did something, but also didn't offend him. And so that's not quite Candy. I think that... I personally think that Jonathan would probably be more likely to reward somebody like Ricky. Ricky is about halfway through here on the list. It goes Dina, Joey, then Tom, according to the audience, which I'm not as sure about anymore. But if Tom got there, I think he'd probably get some votes. Followed by Natalie, then Ricky, then Cato, Candy, Tamar, Lolo. I feel like that's a pretty good list at this point.
Yeah, it's more so the top of the list and the bottom of the list that is really what I was paying attention to when So
then the other one was Ryan. Who is Ryan likely to vote for? And Joey ran away with this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say Joey for sure.
Yes.
And once again, Tamar down at the bottom. However, while Lola was at the bottom of the Jonathan one, she was actually in second for Ryan. A lot of people think that Ryan will stay Team America, or whatever it is, Team USA. And
Team America, #BB16.
and vote for Lolo. I think Lolo is high here. I really don't know if he would vote Lolo. I really feel like he, like, watching back what she was saying on the episodes, talking to Jonathan and Marissa and stuff, I don't see it.
I know. I could see that too, especially, like you guys were talking about with the Marissa tweets and the fact that she's, hanging out with Jonathan, and I'm sure Jonathan's talking to Ryan. Maybe they're hanging out together. Who knows? I could see a lot of influence coming from Marissa and Jonathan in this one. And I just feel like, I could see him feeling betrayed by Lolo. So I don't know if he would vote for her. I mean, maybe if it came down to, something, but I don't know. I don't really see it.
And I don't even see it as like, would Ryan be bitter? I don't think Ryan is bitter, but I think that I think that when he talks to Jonathan, Jonathan's going to be like, it's not about being bitter. It's about the fact that she's played terribly, that she shouldn't be doing these things. Like that's poor gameplay. And you know, I think that that's going to really shine through with somebody like Ryan and Jonathan. So I do think that Lolo is a bit high here. She is followed by Tom, according to these ratings. Tom, again, maybe a little bit high here. Maybe a little bit of people like Tom. They hope that he'll get some votes. I don't know.
Yeah. My top three for this would have been, besides Joey, also Cato and Natalie, because I feel like he's going to have some respect for Cato, who made the move happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was no bitter feelings towards Cato, I think, as he went out. And I think Natalie is somebody he said in his exit interviews, or maybe like right away, that he was saying he thought she was playing well, unless I'm misremembering. So I feel like she's up there. And I feel like the audience is a little too low on his relationship with Tamar. I feel like the two of them really, they got along in the house. I feel like she was upset to evict him. It wasn't like a very obvious relationship that they had, but anytime that Ryan would come by, Tamar would be very happy to see him. Like, I thought that they got along well, and I think that, you know, she should be definitely not last on his list.
Yeah, I had Cato higher. The audience had Cato third to last. They had Tamar, Candy,
right.
and Cato. I had Candy a bit higher. I had Cato a little bit higher. I think that Dina's a potential one here for Ryan, especially with being so close to Jonathan. I think I would drop Tom down a bit. So it's a little all over the place. We'll probably have a better idea once we get some more interviews with Ryan and as the season goes along and all of that. But interesting thing to queue up here at the start of talking about the jury.
It really just highlights the fact that Joey is on the block this week, and for both of the jury members, we have Joey at number one as the biggest threat to get their votes. So, you know, while it looks like they might keep him in the house, it really could backfire if they keep him in too long.
Yes.
To that final four.
Just so you know, Melissa, I want you to be thinking about your buys and your sells as we go through this.
I've already submitted them.
Okay, good, perfect. Okay, all right, that's great. I'll go first then, because I'm realizing it would be very difficult for me to do this because I'm reading off these stats. Anyway. How would you rate this week in Big Brother? I asked you this question. I asked the same question last week. Very curious to know the results. I did receive fewer submissions in the form this week, not by a whole lot, but by a little bit. And I saw some sort of, I saw a little bit of apathy in the response to posting the form. Like, I just don't have it in me, Taryn. Just this season, I'm not sure. We're talking about gameplay, but there's just not a lot of it. So I was curious to see how this compared to the question from last week. Last week, there was an average of just over 7 as the score for the week in Big Brother. This week, it's a bit lower. It's toward the 6.5. So it hasn't dramatically dropped, and I don't think it should have. I think that the Cato week was certainly very bad, but this week has been pretty fun with Tom and Power. But it is on a downward trend, and I hope that we can keep the energy up as the season continues, because I don't want. Hopefully, this downward trend does not stay a downward trend. What were your guys' thoughts though, on this week of Big Brother, Melissa?
Yeah, I feel like I don't feel as invested as I did last Celebrity Big Brother, and it's hard for me to pinpoint why, but I do think that it has to do with the personalities. I just don't feel as entertained when I'm watching the live feeds. There's obviously there's some decent, strategy and gameplay going on, and there's some fun twists and turns, but I just felt like last season there were so many fun personalities in the house that I just never felt bored, because even if they weren't talking strategy, it was super fun to watch. I mean, because Brandy was always causing trouble, but silly trouble, not drama trouble necessarily. And Omarosa was always just so interesting and intriguing. And James Maslow was in there, and I felt like he was entertaining. And then Ross and Marissa together, they were just hilarious. So I just felt like there was always something going on, and in addition to great gameplay. And this season, I just feel like there isn't as much fun involved. And not only that, there's not as much great strategic gameplay. So I just feel like we're not really getting we're not really getting the things that I really want. And I'm not super interested in these fights where it's like, I feel threatened and all this stuff when it's just really made out of nothing. I don't know. So it's not as good for me as last season so far. And I know we're only supposed to be talking about the week, and I'm kind of just like extrapolating that into the whole season. But still, that's how I feel, and I've been thinking that. So, and trying to figure out why I feel that way. And I still don't really know, but
Yeah, I gave this week a 7, which I don't know if that seems too high or anything, but I feel like I expected it when I first, got the notification when I woke up the other day about Tom won HOH. I was like, all right, well, this would have been like a 3. But it ended up with a lot of chaos, with a lot of, an alliance that we thought was going to run the table ended up turning on itself, and now we don't know what's going to happen next. So I feel like there's been a lot. Like it's completely surpassed my expectations for the week. I totally agree with the fact that I was feeling like last season was so good, so entertaining with the people that were in the house, and this season I'm like, I don't know if we have that. We have Candy and we have Dina playing cards every day, and Ricky might be good at the game, but he's kind of like putting me to sleep. And, it just felt like there wasn't as many people to root for and whatnot. And I still kind of feel like that, but I feel like they're getting better. I feel like last season we had a big alliance where we had, the Ross and Marissa combined with Brandy and Ari. They were kind of running things for a while. Eventually they turned on Brandy, and, it's like they were picking pieces off while they still had other people to get out. This season they have a big alliance, and now it's, breaking apart. And now we almost have 2 sides. So I feel like that's a lot more interesting from a strategy perspective than last season was. So I'm not as down as I was a couple days ago.
There you go. I can't actually remember what I gave the season or the week, the previous week. Maybe the chat remembers. I think it was maybe a 4. I feel like that might have been what it was. I hope it is, because I gave this week a 5. I feel like it was better than the first week in the sense that it was not quite as like ridiculous in terms of how embarrassing it was with the production. I think the feeds were slightly worse, but the episodes were slightly better. And we did get some great Tom stuff. I felt like the Cato week was just super slow and boring though. And overall, it's just like I'm kind of losing hope in people ever playing anything close to good, and that's kind of a little bit depressing, but it is, still think it was at least a little bit better than last week for me because of Tom and the shenanigans that he got into. So I would give it a 5. Still overall for this season, personally, it's just not really clicking with me a whole lot, but I'm hoping that it does as we move forward. But man, between the way that the episodes have been edited, between the poor gameplay, and I don't know, it's just it's still fun to talk about, of course, but not my favorite. And I have been preferring the first Celebrity season to this one so far. But we'll see how it goes.
And it was fun to track with Ross. It was fun to see, like, we knew he was playing a great game to advance himself and his alliance all the way to the end and get himself a final 2 spot. But it was like the middle of the game where we started tracking, all right, well, maybe he's not going to win because he's not doing the best at jury management. It's hard to track like who we should be paying attention to the most for this season, because there is no Ross. There's people that are playing well, but like, as we've seen tonight, the highest that we have is a 6 for anybody. So it really could go any which way. And I don't know. I feel like this next HOH will be really telling of how the end game goes.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be surprising to anyone that when I'm unable to rate anyone higher than a 6, that I'm kind of down on it, because I watched the game. I watched the show for the strategy, for the game.
Yeah.
As much as I can like talk and love the drama of it all as well, like the real love for it that I have comes from the strategy. And I'll still watch and love Big Brother as I always do, but I also love rating things, and I like to be honest in my rating. So that's my viewpoint. Let's talk about favorite players. I asked the question: rank the players from your favorite to your least favorite. Last week, it was Tom by landslide. He had about 50% of the people said he was their favorite. He had a pretty substantial lead over Natalie, who was in second place. This week, Tom has again won.
Pity.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
basically the same margin here. Almost 50% of the people said he was their favorite, followed by Natalie. About 14% said Natalie was their favorite. The average, though, is a little closer than that number implies. Tamar has a little bit more people who love her. She has about 17% of people say that she is their favorite, but lower overall average than Natalie, because I think that she is a bit more polarizing. Tamar, one of the highest percentages for the lowest score. So,
Right. So that explains why she, got the power, obviously, if she had one of the highest percentages of people who put her at the top. I mean, personally, I put her at the top. So all those people who were saying Tamar's my favorite and they were hashtagging, CBB Tamar, that's driving that.
Yeah. So the total score that SurveyMonkey gives me here, Tom is at a 7.45, Natalie at a 6.16, Tamar at a 5.79. Those are the top three. Tom with about 50% of first places, Natalie with 14%. Tamar with 17%. Last place, ninth place, Tom had 4% of people said he was their least favorite. 2% of people said Natalie was their least favorite, and about 14% said Tamar was their least favorite. So very polarizing, Tamar.
Interesting, yeah. That's a wide gap.
Yes, another interesting thing to note here, Joey was last in the previous one. He was just under Dina. He was the least favorite house guest. In this week's poll, he was fourth, right after Tamar. He has jumped up in the ratings.
Nothing like a good underdog.
Yes. So there you go. Dina remains down at the bottom, followed by Candy and Lolo. Cato is down there as well. And then you've got Ricky kind of in between that bottom group and Joey heading for when people start to break out. It's really Cato, Lolo, Candy, and Dina all pretty low at the bottom. And then Ricky starts to break out, then Joey, and so on and so forth. So interesting thing to note there. Any surprises there?
I feel like not really. I feel like that's where I suspected it would go. I'm not surprised, but it is interesting to hear how Joey's position has changed. And I really do think the underdog thing is real. I think it's totally real because I feel it too. When someone's when Ryan Lochte was the underdog, we were all rooting for him. And the week before he was in power and we were like, okay, he's too powerful, too strong. I feel like that happens every single time. It's like, it's a very interesting dynamic that happens in Big Brother with the fans and the underdog.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I was kind of expecting Tom would drop because people have been very down on his gameplay, but I think that it kind of balanced itself out where some people are even more annoyed at Tom, but other people are very grateful that he provided entertainment. And I sort of feel the same way inside myself, where I'm disappointed in his gameplay, but I'm very thankful that he is providing us with entertainment because this week would have been really boring without him. So it's a bit of a contradiction there.
Yeah, his gameplay was always going to drop, but his entertainment value, I still like him, so I still had him pretty high on my list.
I also asked, who did you vote for to receive the power of the publicist? And then I also asked, with the hindsight of who won HOH, who did you want to receive the power of the publicist? And unsurprisingly, Tom was very high. He was very high on the first vote, that people actually voted for Tom to receive the power of the publicist. But then after he won HOH, people were a lot lower on Tom. They were not wanting him to have the power of the publicist. About a 20% or so drop. I just thought Brent would be interested in that statistic in particular, if you follow him on Twitter. So I put that question there just for Brent. But overall, we did see a significant Tamar contingent, but obviously our audience is seemingly leaning toward the Tom of it all, but not after he won HOH because he didn't need it anymore.
Right.
So I also asked, did the Mooch quit? Or was it a planned twist?
Ooh,
yes.
That's a question.
What is your official call, Melissa?
I think it was a planned twist that was very poorly planned and executed. So I think it was, but I don't think he quit.
Matt?
Yes, very, very poorly planned, but it was definitely a planned quit. He had a flight booked to Switzerland the day after he left the house, and it's been widely reported that he was always scheduled to be at this event. So I do not think he quit. No.
All right. I agree. I said from the start, I thought it was a planned twist, a very bad one. And I think that's the worst story that they could have had. However, the audience did agree with us, but not by much. 53% of people say it was a planned twist. Still, 47% say it was a quit, and they covered it up. So there you go.
All of
Very
his interviews, too. People are commenting on all of his interview articles and everything, being like, why are they covering up? We don't believe you for a second. This was a quit. Why are you covering this up? It's like, I don't see, I mean, unless like this was a situation where he went on the show full well knowing that he was going to be going to Davos, and didn't tell CBS this, told them he was going to be a player. And then he's checking his calendar and it's coming time for Davos. And he's like, you know what? I'm out of here. And he leaves so he can make sure he gets to that conference. And then if that was the case, then like, that's sure, fine, well and good. But if that was the case, then CBS would be so pissed at him because he was supposed to be their big draw. He was supposed to be the one that gave all the Trump gossip. And, you know, and if he this whole time knew he was going to quit and just up and left them in the lurch like that, they'd be pissed. They wouldn't sit there and create this whole like twist, like, oh, let's bring him in and do a whole Mooch's veto. They wouldn't do that. They'd be like, this guy quit. He's a quitter. Get him out of here. And like, they would be bad mouthing him. There's no way that they'd be like, he's uninvited to finale. He's this and that. They'd be pissed. There's no way that they're like going to like let him leave the house in some sort of celebratory fashion. There's just no way. So that's why I don't think it was a quit. I think that honestly, it looks worse for CBS that this is what they've decided to do. But you know, so be it. That's what they decided to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and look at that competition, the one that they had, you know, prepared the day after or the day of the day he walked out. So we saw him on feeds, I think, on day 6, and then the competition happened on day 7, which was hours before the feeds came on. So like, we're really thinking that there's a possibility that they put together these giant big poster boards with Mooch everywhere, all over it. They had the celebrity breaking news twist that has continued on into this week. And now, you know, the powers, I don't understand how anyone could think it's still a quit, but that may just be us. I don't know. Or 53% of us.
There you go. Again, very contentious. Final question I asked, who do you want to be evicted this week? Interesting little piece of trivia about this question is that it was the exact same question last week that we had the roundtable minus Jonathan. Candy and Joey were the other two options last time. And last time it was very significantly in favor of people wanted Joey to leave. Candy was at the very bottom of that. It was about 60-40. This week, however, it is now 65% of people want Candy to be evicted this week, and 35% want Joey to be evicted. So Joey has shot up in the popularity. However, he still does have some detractors here.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone sees the writings on the wall with Candy. This is what we're going to get from her for the entire season. So if it's not going to get any better, just send her out now, and we'll see what Joey can do to make things interesting.
I agree.
Right. I just feel like if she's not willing to try and play, it's like, what's the point even? I don't want to watch feeds just to watch someone live in a house, even though that sounds counterintuitive because that's really what we're doing. But I don't want to just see someone like making dinner and just hanging out and playing cards. And I want to see the strategy. I want to see the talking in rooms. I mean, I just feel like I don't feel like I've even seen like one game conversation with her.
Nope.
If it's happening, it's happening on screens that I'm not watching because I'm not seeing anything from her, which is really unfortunate because in all of her preseason interviews, I was really excited about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get her out of here, get her the paycheck she's clearly here for, and go about the rest of our game is my hope.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I do agree. I would like to see Joey stay here at this point. Candy just unfortunately is not bringing much to the table. We can't even make fun of her. She's not even like easy to make fun of like Joey was when he was bad.
Yeah. It's just like, okay.
It's not an exciting eviction. It's not like anyone's getting blindsided. Well, then again, maybe she is getting blindsided if she thinks she's safe. Who knows what she's thinking because she never talks about anything to anyone. So I don't know. Maybe we will get a blindside and she'll be like, I had no idea. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
I think she'll be fine.
Well, let's move back to the buying and the selling. This is going to be the final thing we do here on the roundtable. I have submitted my buying and selling. Melissa has submitted hers, and we even have some submissions from Rob Sesternino, who had been keeping track of the prices. He submitted some buys last week, and so he did get his in this time as well. I do have an update as well from Christina Z, who does the amazing statistics for all of this stuff. Make sure you check her out on Twitter and find the page thing. She also just posted in the chat here. This was, in fact, the lowest average that we've ever had on the roundtable. 4.25 average total. The next closest one was the week 3 of Big Brother 20, where it was 4.58. So
yes, no surprises.
So bad.
There
Not
you go.
great. Not great at all.
All right, let's move on to the buying and selling of shares. We're going to start with Matt, who has instructions from Brent.
Okay, well, here's the thing, though. I don't have the board in front of me to see, like, if I can afford these people. So if I can afford what he wants, let me know and I'll cut back. But I think he's good. What does he have right now to spend?
So he has $27 total to spend.
All right, he's fine. He wants to buy 1 Ricky.
Okay.
1 Dina, and 1 Cato.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
So I don't know what the math is that leaves him with, but I believe that should be good.
I think that's 14 total, so he'll be left with 13 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there you go. So
can I buy a Lolo for him while I'm here?
It's up to you.
No, it's okay.
oh, not in his instructions. Okay, so there you go. Those were Brent's picks. As you can see, if you're watching along, the other picks have been entered here. I will say what mine were. I chose to buy a Lolo. I'm low on her, but she's very cheap, and I think that she's gonna last probably a little while, and if she lasts, her price might go up and I might be able to sell it for profit. So that was kind of my thinking with Lolo. I also bought a Ricky, as apparently many of us did, because despite the fact that he is expensive, I do feel like he's in it for the long haul. I feel like he's probably the best positioned person in the house, and it's hard to see his price dropping too much at this point. So I decided to go in with a Ricky, and then I doubled down. I bought another Dina, anticipating that others might try and catch me here, and I was, in fact, very right. Everybody bought 1 Dina this round. So maintaining my lead with Dina, and that brought me to exactly 20. So I stopped there so that I can get the maximum amount of money next week. Melissa, what were you thinking?
I bought a Ricky and a Joey and a Dina. I just felt like I could see all 3 of those people increasing in value in the next couple of weeks. So I felt, especially with Joey, I felt like I could see him going up in the next, or I guess it wouldn't be weeks, the next few days, whatever, the next week. And next time we do the stock watch, I just felt like I could see his value increasing, and I don't know if I'll be able to buy him in the future. So I just felt like I was gonna snatch him up. And Dina, I think she'll go pretty far. So
there you go. I was thinking about Joey. I bought Joey last week when he was at $3. He's now at $5. I actually thought about selling him for a profit here and then maybe rebuying in if he dropped again. But I decided $2 was not worth it. I'll maintain my nice little position here at where I bought in cheaper than the rest of you, suckers.
Man.
So we also got some choices from Rob. Obviously, we don't have explanations from him, but we can see what they were. He bought 1 Tom this week. Tom at $3. He decided to go for it here with Tom. So interesting choice here from Rob.
Okay.
He also bought a Cato at $4. So he's really going all in on Team Fun. He thinks this
all
remnant,
about Team Fun.
the tomato end of Team Fun. He thinks they're in for a comeback.
Back-to-back HOHs, you never know. I wouldn't have expected Tom to win this week, so
Yeah,
That's
could happen
true.
again.
they are pretty cheap, so not terrible decisions there. And I believe that is his. He made purchases last week as well, so that is his second Cato stock. So he's gonna take the lead on Cato there. For the record, though, Rob, he can win, but he can't beat us. That's the rule.
Is that how
That's
this
the
works?
rule.
So if he
yeah.
wins, he just gets a shout out on the show, just like the Reddit and patron group people.
Yeah.
Rob won his own league, so
Yeah.
Well,
that's
actually,
cool.
here's the thing: if he continues to submit choices before we submit ours, then he can play with us. But if he is able to
play with us.
Look at what we
he
have.
can beat us. But basically, in the same way that we can't compare our game with like the patron group's game, because like we're playing against each other. So like, you know, somebody who's playing a separate game might have, you know, 7 shares of Dina when Dina's the winner, but I only need 4 to be ahead of you guys. I'm not going to spend more than I need to beat, you know, the person from the patron group. I'm going to have the amount that I need to beat you guys. So, if Rob is able to submit them in time, then he can play. Last week it was not the case. This week it was. So if you know, we'll see how it goes. Anyway,
Come play with us in the patron group, Rob. We're not too cool for you.
but it's still interesting to
You
track.
can sit with
and
us.
if he is able to beat us, then you know, he'll definitely have bragging rights for sure. So that is his second share of Cato there. He also decides to buy a Lolo, just like I did. Sees that she's cheap stock there, and he bought he bought Lolo last week when she was $5. Bad decision. He bought a Tamar last week. She has increased in value, so that was not a bad buy. He bought a Joey this week at $5, so he was one of the suckers that bought him at a higher price than I did. And he also bought a Dina this week. So there you go.
Cannot believe this Dina Lohan train has been taking off and just full steam ahead. It's crazy.
We love her. We love her.
Yes, and again, I suggest that you check out the video for this if you want to see the charts and the numbers and everything. We've got some great visuals for you if you are interested there. And I think that's all we got for you here for this roundtable on Big Brother Celebrity 2. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
The next roundtable will take place on Wednesday, February 6th. There's going to be an episode next Thursday, so we're going to have to do it a day earlier on Wednesday, just so everyone knows.
So we have an eviction on Saturday, and then is another person getting evicted before we have our roundtable? So there'll be 2 more evictions?
So there will be...
I think so.
Yeah, there will be an eviction on Saturday and then another one on Monday. So very high chance that somebody is going to lose some serious money here because basically Candy is the only person that currently has no shares bought in her by us at the very least. Everybody else has at least one person bought into them. So somebody's losing money on Monday.
It's crazy to think that the term in terms of the schedule that we're at, like Shannon Elizabeth still hasn't been evicted on the season. Like that's how far back we are in terms of people going out because there's only been 2 out so far. So we still have Shannon in the game if this was last season. So we have to lose somebody on Saturday. We have to lose somebody on Monday to get us to the meta spot. And then I guess probably a double eviction next Friday because it's a 2-hour episode. Mm-hmm. So then I think that's what we'll see coming up.
Yeah, we're at 9 right now. Saturday we'll go down to 8. Monday we'll go down to 7, and then probably 2 more on Friday to get us down to 5, and then 5 headed into the finale is probably what's likely.
Yeah,
that's wild.
It's crazy. There's only like 5 episodes left, and we still have everybody in the game. Or I don't know, like is it 5 or 6 episodes? Crazy.
Yeah, we've got let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes total left.
There we go.
So, and also just to brag, I feel like I need to say this. I'm the only one who hasn't lost someone in the draft yet. Knock on wood.
Ooh.
But,
who's your team? I don't remember. Who's your team?
My team is Natalie, Tom, and Dina.
Natalie and Dina.
Yeah, I feel like
that's pretty good.
I feel like that's something you can brag about, like once there are 4 people gone, because somebody was guaranteed to lose nobody at 3 people gone.
I'm probably not going to be able to brag about this on Wednesday, so I felt like I should do it now.
Like, I don't know. For instance, if you had 4 of the final 5 on your team on a Survivor draft, that's probably at a time that you would brag, even though you ended up losing because of, you know,
Aaron, let me brag. This is probably the last time I get to brag about this for this season.
I don't know.
So...
I feel like you're still, I personally, I feel like your team is in the lead.
Well, now I told you it is. I haven't lost anyone yet.
No. Not in terms of losing people. In terms of, I think Natalie and Dina are two of the more likely winners.
I could see that too. I do think that I have a very likely chance of losing Tom.
Yes.
By the time Wednesday rolls around.
Yeah,
so.
I've basically already considered that you've lost Tom. That's
yeah. So I figured I should say it. I should brag about it now, and then be sad about it on Wednesday. So.
All right. Well, anything else that you guys wanted to talk about before we wrap this up?
Nope. Just excited to go. As we've been on here, Tom is still spiraling out of control, just in terms of like knowing that his game is over, and Cato is also starting to come to this realization. So while the next few days may not have tons of maybe gameplay, it'll still have Tom trying to figure out what to do with himself. So I'm excited for what's ahead.
All right. Well, does anyone in the chat have an idea for a hashtag for this episode, or either of you? Let me know. Come up with some ideas. Make sure you check out the live feed update tomorrow morning. Of course, I will be live at 11 a.m. with Puya, and we will talk about everything that happened today on the live feeds. Might be a bit of a light one tomorrow, but still, there's important stuff to know. And then, of course, on Saturday, we're going to have the Eviction, and we'll be live after that to recap what's going on there. I recorded an American Ninja Warrior USA versus the World special with Lita that should be coming out soon, so make sure you check that out. Just today, Survivor preseason has officially begun, and you have a whole season of First One Out, 3 whole episodes to listen to. So make sure you check that out. It was a lot of fun to put that together. The music in particular is quite good. So recommended.
Also, I just want to say a friend of mine is on the show, so I'm very excited.
Can you say who?
Yeah, the War Dog.
Yeah.
That's your friend.
Yeah. He goes to law school with my roommate, and they're good friends. So, yeah, I know him.
That's exciting.
I know him pretty well. So, yeah, it's very fun. I was just talking to him today about how the subreddit is talking about him and how they dug up his old videos already, and he was like, whoa.
Melissa was so excited about this. It was when I was in LA. She was like, "You're doing Foo, right? Like, War Dog." Or no,
yeah, I was like,
no, you were naming him by his other name, and Josh was like, "Who?"
Everyone's like, I have no idea who that is, and then I was like, but he goes by a nickname. He wouldn't tell me the nickname, but like, because he was not giving me any information. I was getting nothing from him, so he was being very good about his NDA. But so I was like, what's going on? And he's like, look, all I can tell you is that I go by a nickname on the show, and I was like, what is it? What is it? And he wouldn't tell me, and so then I go to Taryn, and I'm like, Taryn, like. Someone with a nickname.
Yeah, and Josh and I had a moment where we're like, oh my God, she means War Dog.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah, so craziness happening with Survivor. Make sure you check out First One Out. And you can also, of course, find me on Twitch. I have been streaming Kingdom Hearts 3, as well as going and talking about the feeds and watching along with you guys. So that's been a lot of fun as well. Make sure you find me there. Twitch.tv/Taryn Armstrong. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taryn. Melissa's at It's Melissa with 3 A's. And Matt is at Matt Ligori. So let's see. I've got Walgamat.
I like that one.
Walgamat. I like that.
It.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, all the other ones are about like Lolo stock. That's a pretty good one. But I feel like let's try to remain a little more positive. We'll go Walgamat.
All right. Yeah, he can't be too mad with me. I didn't actually mess with his picks or anything like that. As much as I wanted to buy a Lolo for him.
All right. So for Melissa and Matt, I am Taryn Armstrong. #Walgamat. We'll see you next time.